My oh my, The Amazing Spider-Man. I still remember when I first heard about this movie. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and my uncle gave me one of his old Spider-Man t-shirts. He's like, hey, you're wearing this to the movie. Now in my head, I was like, sweet, Tobey Maguire Part 4, because I was a huge fan of the Tobey Maguire films. I literally thought I was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man at the time. Anyways, fast forward to the movie theater. I get there and I watch the film, and I'll be honest, I did not enjoy it because it wasn't Tobey Maguire. I mean, this is just from a child's standpoint. I also felt it was a lot more mature than the Tobey Maguire ones, as the Tobey Maguire ones are more goofy and like comedic. Where Gwen and Peter were super, serious. You could tell this wasn't, 2004 anymore. We were in a new era here. And I'll be honest, from that point forward, I was never really a fan of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those people where when No Way Home came out, I switched up super hard. I was like, oh, Andrew Garfield day one. Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. Yeah, it's hard not to like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man when he was a really great character in No Way Home. But I still wasn't going to sit there and defend his movies and say that he was my favorite. Fast forward to last week, I saw The Amazing Spider-Man re-released to theaters. The family and I went, and I was really excited to be watching this movie in theaters again, as it's been over a decade since I last seen it in theaters. Now, as a kid, the problem I had, and a problem a lot of people still have with Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man movie, is they think it's supposed to replace Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's movies are awesome. Don't fix what's not broken. But Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man shouldn't be thought of the reboot, the better version, the solution to not having a fourth Tobey Maguire film. You have to go into The Amazing Spider-Man wanting a brand new Spider-Man origin story, a brand new actor, brand new characters. You do that, you'll have a much better experience and a much more appreciation for The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, for the re-release in theaters, this is something I actually did. I went in saying, hey, I might have grown up with the Tobey Maguire films, but let's see what Andrew Garfield really has to offer here. And by the time the credits were rolling, I see why there's a small group of people that really defend this film. Does it have its flaws? Of course. Is it perfect? Of course not. But there's definitely something there. Starting with the new Peter Parker origin story, not a big fan. I was so confused as a kid, and even now watching it in theaters at 19 years old, I was like, what exactly is happening here? I felt like it really wasn't necessary. It was just kind of there to make it something fresh, and I think no one really cared about that storyline. Matter of fact, the best part about that entire storyline is actually a deleted scene. We'll probably talk about that in its own video though. But yeah, really didn't care about that storyline. I was more interested in the Lizard, Gwen Stacy, literally anything but that storyline. Next thing I want to talk about is Uncle Ben and Aunt May, specifically Uncle Ben. My god, the original Tobey Maguire Uncle Ben is iconic, but this is hands down the perfect Uncle Ben. The acting is brilliant coming from Charlie Sheen's father, and what I like best is that this Uncle Ben actually feels like a father figure. You could tell Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker really needed this Uncle Ben in his life. I loved every scene with Uncle Ben, and I had to give credit to Aunt May as well. Her acting also brilliant. When the three of them are arguing right before Uncle Ben is killed, it's just a great moment.
You will not defend this boy.
I'm not defending.
You are defending him. Listen to me, son.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on, how dare you?
How dare I? How dare you?
And we could talk about Uncle Ben's death. It wasn't anything special, but I did like that he went down in a fight. I think I do kind of prefer Uncle Ben's death for Tobey Maguire though, as he really tried to defuse Sandman, where Andrew Garfield's Uncle Ben quite literally jumps the gun. Respect. Moving into how Peter Parker actually becomes Spider-Man, everything in between from him getting his prototype suit and becoming the Spider-Man. Same with Tobey Maguire. I feel like it's always super rushed. It's like a 30-second sequence of just like, oh, I have an idea for a suit. And then next thing you know, they have this like legit like professional suit. It's so okay, but it's like, bro, there's no way you designed that. But I must say, I love this suit. It is easily top 3 suits for me. I think it has to do with how Andrew Garfield's body build is. Like Tobey Maguire's was skin tight, but he looks super buff in it. This fit perfectly on Andrew Garfield. I love it. I love the dark red with the dark blue, and I actually really like the lenses. It just works for me. Regarding the actual design of the suit, yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit is definitely better. Many call it the most accurate Spider-Man suit to date. In technical terms, yes, that is the best suit, but something about the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit just has so much charm to it that I absolutely love. But how he got his powers, it ties into his origin story with his parents and everything, so it's just like whatever to me. But as we learned in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I do like that it working for Peter Parker is an exclusive thing. Almost like Peter Parker is chosen to be the Spider-Man of this universe and no one else. Diving into some of our main characters such as Gwen Stacy and Dr. Connors, what can I say about Gwen Stacy? Emma Stone is a brilliant actress, and unlike Mary Jane and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy is actually a likable, funny, and helpful character. She actually benefits Peter's life, unlike Tobey Maguire with Mary Jane, where his life life is actually harder due to Mary Jane. There'll never be another Gwen Stacy like Emma Stone's Amazing Spider-Man Gwen Stacy. And you could just feel Andrew and Emma's chemistry pouring off the screen, you know, because they were dating in real life. And Dr. Connors, alright, I love Dr. Connors. The problem with him is that I think he had so much more potential, as there was a lot of deleted scenes with him. Would they have made a huge difference? I'm not sure. I just wish he had a little more screen time as the Lizard and as Dr. Connors. I mean, this man has me convinced that he's a genius in real life. Again, another great actor. Super happy that he performed the Lizard in live action for us. The only complaint I could have about the Lizard is that I wish he had that white lab coat on longer, as it is comic accurate. We get like a few scenes of it with him in it, and then it like kind of falls off. But yeah, Dr. Connors and the Lizard, out of our live action Spider-Man, I think he's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. And a part of that has to do with how Dr. Connors has an actual relationship with Peter Parker, kind of like Dr. Octavius and Peter Parker in the Tobey Maguire films. It's like they go from friends to enemies. And the Lizard was awesome whenever he talked.
Poor Peter Parker.
Like, that scene was so sick when he crushed Peter's web shooters. A little more of a side character, we got Captain Stacy, or Gwen Stacy's father. I love how he was kind of like a second father figure to Peter after Uncle Ben. And even though that wasn't very prominent, it's actually when Captain Stacy dies where Peter has that big scream. Like, it makes you hurt for Peter's hurt, you know? But they are whining a little bit. I loved how they were actually kind of butting heads, and then they kind of led to a little bit of a team up. But they still had that border up between them, up to Captain Stacy's death actually, because Peter, of course, is dating his daughter. With his dying words being, leave Gwen out of this. Now, Uncle Ben was a great character portraying responsibility, but Captain Stacy was really the nail in the coffin. His dying words were basically telling Peter, hey, you have a responsibility to keep that girl away from you. It's crazy how the big message of Spider-Man's life, with great power comes great responsibility, ultimately is what the entire film of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, which we'll dive into next. Overall, really enjoyed this movie. It was so much better seeing it in theaters again. Yeah, to anyone who hasn't seen The Amazing Spider-Man in a long time, or their last memory of it is a bad one, like I said at the beginning of this video, you've just gotta watch it with that open mindset of, hey, I don't care about Toby or Tom. Let's just see a fresh Spider-Man story. With that being said, I want to rate The Amazing Spider-Man, released in 2012. Now, I feel like 3 out of 5 stars is a good spot for it, but the acting was just so memorable, man. It was actually such great acting. So we'll bump up The Amazing Spider-Man to about a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Sound about fair? Not a perfect movie, not a terrible movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it overall. I'm no critic, I'm just another Spider-Man fan like you guys, so let me know in the comments, other Spider-Man fans, what do you think of The Amazing Spider-Man? Is it as bad as people say? What would you rate it? I truly hope to see you all in my Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. Been a blast. Alekos out. Have a great one. God bless.